Hi, I'm Tim Bradley. Welcome to Capital News. And today to Commissioner Corri, Feige, Commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources. Welcome, Commissioner.
Hi, Tim. Such a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Commissioner, DNR is a big agency that has a lot, you've got a lot on your plate: agriculture, forests, parks, mines. But when people usually think of DNR, they think a lot about the North Slope, about Will Cook Inlet on the North Slope and the petroleum industry that's pretty important to our economy. Why are we not seeing a lot of activity right now on the North Slope, particularly with oil prices headed toward $100, it seems?
Well, and I think you're right. And we love the fact that oil prices are up and they are being projected to stay elevated and stable above $70 a barrel for at least the next couple of years. And we could probably see some higher spikes within that, just depending upon, global activities and geopolitics. But I think for Alaska's North Slope, part of the reason that we're not seeing rigs turning in every field, so to speak, is that we're still on the backside of absorbing the downturn from COVID. Companies are still managing COVID protocols in the camps and on drill rigs and in all of the operations across the slope, as well as in Cook Inlet. But we're also still facing the associated labor shortages. And we know that that's having an impact on the service sector. We know that that's having an impact on the pace at which activities can take place. But even with all of those stresses going on, we still have a marked uptick in activity across the slope this year. We're back to having infill drilling rigs running in our legacy fields. I think Caparic has 3 rigs turning this winter. Colville River Unit has 1, and Milne Point Unit continues with an infill drill rig there as well. On the exploration side, we've got 2 really notable programs. We've got the Merlin 2 well, which is being drilled by 88 Energy, and that's the area just immediately north of Umiat, right inside the NPRA. And then we have Great Bear Pantheon back out on their claims near the Franklin Bluffs pad. And they re-entered and are testing the Talitha well that was drilled last year, and then the initial Talitha well a few years back. And then they're moving over to what they call the Theta West project. And on that particular target, they're drilling, I believe it's to about an 8,000-foot depth, maybe not quite that, but getting down to test a couple of fan structures that they're very interested there. So we've got rigs turning both on the exploration side, and we also have seismic that's back in action again this winter. So we're slowly taking baby steps back in and managing labor shortages and COVID protocols.
Commissioner, two big oil projects, which a lot of people have focused on, is the ConocoPhillips Willow and the Pickup project by now Santos and Repsol.
Right.
I guess, are we going to hear something about Pickup this spring?
Well, we're hoping to. The companies have announced that they will be ready for financial or their final investment decision by probably the end of the second quarter. So that would be about mid-year, May, June is what we understand. We're still working with, we at DNR are still working with Oil Search Santos and Conoco to help resolve questions about access and equitable use across the Caparic unit roads. And so that's well in action, but we think we'll be able to get that put to bed here in the not too distant future and in time for Oil Search and Santos to make their proposed FID. And then Willow, we're watching very, very closely. There's a fair bit, as you know, of upheaval at the federal level. And with Judge Gleason's remand of the Willow Project back to the BLM to have a close look at a couple of issues related to the EIS, then we are sitting at the table as a cooperating agency, DNR is, to ensure that there is a timeline for that remand and that work keeps moving forward, because Conoco has announced that they would like to see that process completed by the end of the calendar year and then be able to stay on target with their construction schedule to begin early 2023. So I think we'll see some significant movement on both of those projects by the middle part of this year, middle to the later part of this calendar year.
Yeah. And Commissioner, I noticed that the BLM, which is the land agency for the National Petroleum Reserve, has notified people of a new supplemental EIS for the Willow Project, which indicates, I guess, some progress. Does that indicate that things are coming together in terms of a reconfigured project?
Well, I think so. And I think what's important about the fact that BLM has now reached out and made notice that they're starting the process for the supplement to the EIS is that we can get folks to the table. We can start that analysis, answer the questions that the agency feels were deficit and that the court felt were deficit, and then ensure that that stays on a timeline and keeps moving forward. What oftentimes happens when you've got a heavy load of process going within federal agencies as well as even some state agencies, things can lag. So it's very important that the state as a cooperating agency be there with Conoco and be there with BLM so that we keep that whole process moving and we don't let anything fall into somebody's inbox and not be dealt with and then drag for months.
I guess it's also I guess a positive signal that the federal agencies seem to be cooperative so far in this. A lot of people were worried
So, yeah.
about that.
And I think that certainly the professionals in the local regional offices, folks who've been working these issues for years and years, are invested in seeing the work that they've been doing, heck, since the Obama administration, where Willow is concerned, and that particular integrated activity plan for NPRA. They're eager to see the fruits of their labor come to fruition as well. Now that's just aligning that with the policy direction that they're getting out of Washington, D.C.
Well, well, we are in great hopes of those projects could generate a great deal of activity,
Oh,
jobs,
fantastic. Yep.
and a lot of new oil too. Each one is going to make a significant contribution.
It will. And the sooner we see the first 80,000 barrels from oil search, followed by the second 80,000, and then an 80,000 to 120,000 from Willow, those will be very, very good days indeed.
Great. Well, Commissioner, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us in Capitol Views. Thank you.